Have you ever felt like your design looks great but feels flat? You might have seen websites like this that give up this professional vibe. It's time for you to stop making boring prototype. You need to start adding interactions and animation in Figma. Today I'll show you how to add smooth, purposeful interaction and animation in Figma without going overboard. Also note that it is great to add this little interaction and animation to your website, but at the same time, too much animation creates confusion and distraction for your users. So let's get right into it. So when we say interaction, it is when a user does something like clicking, hovering, or scrolling through, which usually leads to a response. Example, a user taps a button to go to another page, hovers over a card, or the card slightly shifts, and then maybe clicks on an icon, then a modal opens up. So the visual effect that plays during the transition triggered by this interaction is what we refer to as animation. So I'm going to show you the importance of having this animation on your website. Now look at this one. It's just okay, everything sits well. So why don't we look at this page where we added an animation? You can see how this image just came to life once you get to this hero section, the home page. Now if you're scrolling through, it appears as if the text are coming out while you're scrolling through the page. So it gives the user the feeling that, oh, the website is responding to my interaction. There's something going on. Imagine this button here. We click on this button, it changes. It's responding to our interaction with this other one. I'm going to show you how to achieve this animation in Figma. But we're going to start off small. We're going to start by creating the tiniest interactive button in Figma. Then we'll move on to show you how to create these other animations that you're seeing here in Figma. All right, so let's start. Just like I said, we're going to start off small. I'll show you how to create an interactive animation for buttons. Then we'll move over to a more complex one. So this is the button that I used for this section here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hold on to Option or Alt key on your button and then just duplicate this here. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to say detach instance, right? Then I'm going to hold on to Option or Alt key and I'm going to duplicate this, make sure that it's into 3. Then I'm going to find a way to select all 3 of them. And I'm going to say this is for more option. So I'm going to click on it and I'm going to say create component sets. So when I say create component set, right now I have my component set here. Let's make sure that this component set is here. We didn't do that very well. So I'm going to select the buttons individually and then go back and say create component set. So I have my button component here. Now, what you're going to do is then define each state. What do you want each of the states to look like? Now let's start with, this is the default state, obviously. So we're going to leave the property as default. We're going to leave the name as default. So this other second one, let's change it. We can change it and name it hover. So when a user hovers on a button on your website, what do you want it to look like? So I'm going to try and change this color here. Let's just give it a random color. Let's just give it this blue here. So when a user clicks on your button, what do you want it to look like? So this one, we're going to change it a bit and then go back to the same blue and maybe make it a different shade here. Now you've defined the different states, the default state, the hover state, and the click state. Now the next thing we're going to do is to go to prototype here. Now we're going to select this one and connect it to this one here. We're going to connect it here. And then we're going to change the trigger to be while hovering. Then we're going to select this one again and move it to this one and change the trigger to leave it at when you click. Now the action here, for this one, the animation here, we're going to leave it at instant. Instant is fine. Instant suits this particular scenario. Now you can go with different animation here, depends on what you're trying to achieve. So the next example I'm going to show you, we're going to be exploring smart animation. I'm going to take this here. I'm just going to select this and click on command, and I'm going to come here and I'm going to right click on my mouse or my keyboard and I'm going to say paste to replace. So let me show you what we have done here. So what we have done was simply say that when a user either hovers around this, let it change to blue, and obviously it does. For the click, if you click on it, if it's moving to another page, obviously it's going to change for the color that you want. If you create this kind of animation and interaction, it actually helps the developers to visualize what your website should look like, and they can bring it live exactly the way you want it. Next, we're going to look at more advanced animation. All right, so for this second animation, it's complex, but I'm going to break it down for you in a way that you're going to understand it. So let me show you what we're trying to achieve here. So remember when we played this design, how this image came to life once you landed on the home page. That is what we're trying to achieve, right? So now I'm going to go back to this place. So this is the image and the text. So I'm going to duplicate it here. Let me remove this grid line so that you can see what we're doing. So once I duplicate it here, I'm going to make it into two. Just like we did before, I'm going to select the two and then turn it into a component set. So now it's you that will define how you want the animation to play out, right? So I'm going to click the drop down and I'm going to select the image itself alone. I am going to shrink the image. I just want to shrink the image. I'm going to try to center it here, make sure it's aligned properly. Then I'm going to go under appearance and I'm going to make the opacity 0. Now, if you want this text to have an animation or something going on, I'm going to click on K on my keyboard and I'm going to shrink it down. Now, the next thing we're going to do is go to prototype, then we're going to link this to this. Now we're going to say after delay, we're going to leave it at after delay, 800 millisecond. Now, the animation is now going to be smart animate. We're going to leave it at ease out and leave it at 300 millisecond. Now, let's see if what we did played out. I'm going to duplicate this one and I'm going to select this component, just Ctrl C or Command C. Then I'm going to come here and I'm going to right click and say paste to replace. So let's try and play this and see if what we did worked exactly. So depending on how fast you want it to move, you can reduce the time here or increase the time. So for this one, we made it after 800 millisecond. The duration we can say maybe 500 millisecond, and let's see how it's going to play out. Now it's a bit slower. That is how you achieve this particular animation. So let's do the last animation, where we see text messages just pop up or images just pop up while you're scrolling through the website. We're going to look at the last animation. Now, just for context, this is what we're going to do. You see how this text and image here appears while we're scrolling? That is what we're trying to achieve here. So we're going to go back to Figma here. I'm going to take this because I've already created it's in a frame here. So I'm going to hold on to Option or Alt key and I'm going to duplicate it. So once I duplicate it, I'm going to duplicate it twice, select the first frame, hold on to Shift, select the second frame, and then go back to this design mode and then select these 3 dot icons here and say create component set. So once I do that, it's on the first component that you're going to define the kind of interaction that you want to happen or kind of animation you want to happen on your design. So I want this text here to appear from the bottom or just appear as if it just came up while a user is scrolling. So firstly, I'm going to right click and ungroup this frame here because the text frame needs space to behave in that way. So I'm going to bring it down here. I'm just going to move it down here and I'm going to change the appearance to 0. Now, the second thing we want to animate is this image here, this grouped image. So I'm going to group it. I'm going to just push it down. I'm just pushing it down and I'm going to make the appearance 0 too. Now, it's important that on this frame too, that I ungroup this frame that has both this left side text and the image here. I'm going to ungroup it from this header that is at the top. That's the text, no clutter, no confusion. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to say ungroup so that it can behave in that way. So I'm going to select the first component and then say Command C or Control C and I'm going to go here and paste to replace so that we can see what we have done. Now again, if you want this text here to also behave in a certain way, we can also make that happen. Let's click on K, and then we're going to just reduce it. So you can either decide to reduce the opacity to, maybe you just want it to appear. Maybe let's say the opacity is 15. Right, so we're going to go back to prototype mode, and then we're going to link this to this one. So now, because we want it to behave in a way that when a user is scrolling, those text or the images appear, we're not going to leave it on click, we're going to leave it at while hovering. Now, when it's while hovering here, we can leave it at smart animate and leave it at linear and leave it at 15 milliseconds. Let's see what we have done and see how it's going to work. So let's click this, and then we're going to go. Now you see, it's behaving just the way we expect it to behave. And it's as simple as that. If you are having difficulty recreating this, just leave a comment below and we'll be here to respond. And if you found this video helpful, hit the subscribe button and follow LogRocket for more UX tutorials just like this one. See you next time.